watching it?
Well, it hasn't been started yet, I don't think.
They have done some sections on the building down there, and they finished the shelters at the park. And we pulled building permits on both sets of projects, and they'll be inspected by the building inspector, just like any other roofing job is.
So the roofing job has to meet the Minnesota State Building Code. That's the way it's bid out, and that's the way it has to get
Is that CME or what?
CMS.
CMS?
So they'll actually stop the project if the builder goes beyond what they're supposed to, and they can't inspect
So do they
different
inspect,
parts of the roof.
do they inspect the quality of the shingles as well, or what's entailed in the inspection?
They inspect the workmen, the job that the workmen do to ensure that they're building it according to the Minnesota State Building Code.
But just, I think to Robert's question, the inspector wouldn't care or determine what shingle
brand
is
of
being
shingles, yeah.
put on,
If one brand is.
as long as
supposed
it's
to be
being
better
put
than
on
the other.
correctly,
Mhm.
yeah, so.
When
But-
the bid thing had in there all that stuff about replace bad boards, it said to build it according to state building code, and it said replace anything that's bad. And I had all four public works guys look at it, one of whom was roofing for a living before he started working for us. And I sent it to the insurance guy and asked him if that was enough detail and enough information to go out for the bids, to see if he wanted me to list anything different on there. He said that was fine too, so.
Because it's their money, other than the deductible.
So, just out of curiosity, who was the roofer prior to being here?
Roger Knudsen worked in contracting. He worked with Debbie John. He did many roofs, and
We did a whole lot of stuff after the flood. Yeah, I don't recall any roofing other than Mark Johnson's.
So,
when he built his own house, any of those guys, public works guys, would know if I had put something on there that looked out of whack or didn't look right, I would think.
so they all had to build, had to price material and labor.
Not separately, no.
See, that's what I don't understand. It's ridiculous not to price material and labor separate. Because material, you can buy, well, I'm gonna take my son. We could have he could have saved us a couple $1,000 just in sales tax. Why wasn't that considered?
Even taking that into consideration, the dollar value was very significant between the two bids.
That isn't what I asked you. I said, why wasn't that considered?
It wasn't a dollar enough difference to make a difference.
That's where you're wrong. If you take material like this and price it out, and if there's an overrun of material there, you can send it back and get your money back. If you take and make a contract or put in your name there, and you can get your sales tax if you buy the material separate and farm it out to a contractor to install it. On the job, you said it wasn't, didn't have to consider that. Well, as a taxpayer in town, I think you oughta.
The grand total between the two bids was far greater than the amount of the sales tax.
So you can just give up the sales tax anyway. That isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you got $10,000 in material, no matter who it is,
Is the insurance company paying for this?
why don't you go to a company where you can get the sales tax? You don't have to pay the sales tax if you get an ID number of the company. That's what I'm saying. Why weren't you looking out for us taxpayers in town? I don't care who you buy it from. That's the point I wanna get across.
Aren't you eventually gonna have to pay the sales tax somehow anyway?
No, no, you buy out of state. Guaranteed.
I think the cost to the city is a fixed cost anyway, because it was an insurance job.
That doesn't have anything to do with it, not one iota. I'm
Why
talking
doesn't
about
it?
if this thing is worth $1,000 and you have a tax number, and 6.7 would be $67 or something like that on it for taxes. You could get that recovered. You don't have to pay that when you buy it out of state. If you got a tax ID number.
You don't have, the city doesn't have to pay it now, right? This, in 2014, because of the change in the state law?
No, that
We
has to
didn't
be-
buy the shingles directly ourselves. When you contract with a contractor,
Right.
and they have to
But
pay
is-
sales tax, then we do end up paying sales tax.
Right, but I thought that was what Roger was saying, was that if the city had purchased,
We
the
would have had to
material.
purchase the material separately.
Right,
Yeah.
but to purchase the
Like we
material
did with the
separately.
lights on the street.
yeah,
The difficulty you're gonna get into is if you have somebody who's bidding material low and labor high, and then vice versa. And you're gonna be,
Yeah, but you're not grasping it, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
no, I am, I'm understanding it.
Well, then anybody can bid the labor on it.
Right.
Buy the material separately. So what are you saying, what's the difference there?
Because if you have two bids in front of you and someone's low on material and someone's high on labor, you're gonna have to take the lowest responsible bid for material, the lowest responsible bid for labor.
Exactly.
It doesn't always work that way is the problem, because you've got people they're bidding the whole project. So you're gonna have to ask each of them to split it out in their bid,
That's where I'm saying the city is doing wrong. On anything,
anything.
and anything on a big project where you can get your sales tax cut.
would the city in the contract have to state that they're reserving the right to purchase
Yes,
the materials then on their own?
that's what we did for the street project, for the
Yeah.
lighting.
Right.
We bought the materials, and then we went out for bid for the streetlights. That's what we did.
For, yeah,
And then we have to keep track of all the materials as they come in and make sure that we've got the right stuff. And then we have to get it in the hands of the contractor to do the work.
What I'm saying is, why do us taxpayers have to be paying that sales tax when we don't have to?
I think what Mark is saying is that the city actually, the taxpayers in this case,
Say what?
You're not paying it.
they aren't paying the sales tax because the insurance company will be paying the majority of it. We have our,
Oh, so what you're saying then is just rip the insurance company off?
well,
I
no,
didn't
I'm,
say
I'm not saying that either, but that's just the way,
In this situation,
because the
yeah.
insurance company is actually, the city is almost acting as an agent or whatever for
For the
the
insurance company.
insurance company in this case, so.
In this
All I'm
situation,
all I'm
yeah.
trying to do is make sense out of it too, Roger, so.